I need to back up.
Contact.
Go ahead, Nick.
Good.
Yep.
All right. Welcome everyone to our October board meeting. Hope everyone's enjoying this cool, somewhat rainy evening here tonight, like last month. Hope everyone's week's off to a good start and we continue throughout the week. It's amazing to think that it's October now and we've only got one more board meeting after this one, 2021. And with October, since of October, each year, October board meeting, we celebrate Disability Employment Awareness Month. And this is something we really look forward to. It's always great to hear the stories that highlight people we serve who are employed in our communities and working as part of our local workforce. So now let's call our regular board meeting to order. Meeting called at 6:07. Roll call. Jim Anderson.
Present.
Dr. Thelma Lang.
Here.
Maria Higgy.
Here.
Jennifer Ball. And Rob are absent. Carmelita Smith.
Here.
Cindy Sutter is excused. And Dan Sutter is here. Moving to in memoriam. We extend our sincere condolences to the families of the following people who have passed away since our last meeting. Each has left us way too early. We have Dean Everett Ferguson. Dean, age 51, passed away Wednesday, September 22nd. He received services from the SSA department. Timothy Michael Metz. Timothy, age 64, passed away Wednesday, September 22nd. He received services from the SSA department. Zoriana Electra Quit. Zoriana, age 24, passed away Friday, September 17th. She received services from the SSA department. And Bridget Lorraine Huderbaugh. Bridget, age 48, passed away Wednesday, September 1st. She received services from the SSA department. Let's have a moment of silence to honor their life and passing. Okay, thank you. I now need a motion to approve the minutes from regular board meeting held September 28th.
Anderson motion.
Second.
Higgy seconds.
Thank you. Any additions, revisions, or corrections? All in favor of approval of board meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. No abstentions. Minutes are approved. We have recognition of two retirees with Connie and Kristen doing recognitions.
Good evening. We have two employees that have retired during the month of October that we'd like to recognize this evening. Our first employee could not join us this evening. I think she's already enjoying her retirement. That is Diane Mace. And Diane retired on October 15th after 33 years of service. And she was a bus rider in our transportation department. So we wish Diane many years of retirement with happiness and good health. Kristen Quichi will present our retiree that's here this evening.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to be here this evening to present and thank Vicki for her over 17 years of service. Vicki began her career in 2004 as a physical therapist in Eastgate in our preschool programs. And I've heard over about a decade period, she did whatever was needed at Eastgate, whether it was taking care of the kids, their services, for helping out in early intervention. So that spanned those 10 years. Then in 2013, Vicki came over to early intervention 100%. And coincidentally, about that same time, early intervention moved from the direct service model to the coaching and teaming model. Little did we know when we sent Vicki and a team to training that they would find out that this is when this model change was going to happen. I'm sure she wondered what she got herself into. But Vicki, who loves science and research, embraced and mastered this model change just as she has with every aspect of her career. So wanted to pass on that Vicki is a very well-respected member of the EI team. She's always able and willing to help do whatever she's do for families as well as her teammates. She is also helped us learn immensely the roles that we can do in regards to physical therapy to help strengthen our ability to serve our families. She's a great teacher and a coach. She always brings a warm, friendly, compassionate, professional presence to our teams, and that was sincerely appreciated and will be definitely missed. So Vicki, on behalf of Stark County Board, to present this gift to you with our heartfelt thanks for all of your service to families, to children in Stark County, and for being a great team member to the employees. Wish you nothing but health, blessings, and adventure.
Because public speaking is my least favorite thing to do. I did write a few words. I just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity to have worked for the Stark County Board of DD for the past 17 years. Working mostly in early intervention has been a privilege, joy, honor, and responsibility. We are there to help families celebrate new developmental milestones, as well as grieve newly discovered diagnoses. I want you to know what a compassionate, professional, hardworking, and dedicated staff you have. Thanks again.
To Diane and Vicki, on behalf of the board, thank you for your service and commitment to serving our ED and families. So now, one of the highlights of tonight's meeting, we have Disability Employment Awareness Month recognitions. Lisa.
Good evening. As Dan said, it is always my pleasure to come before you to tell our stories. And October, as he said, is Employment Awareness Month. And we celebrate the people in our community who have been a part of bringing us back to work. And I know I stood up here last October and told you that many people with disabilities who had their jobs were frontline essential workers that kept their jobs and stayed on the job throughout COVID. And that has remained true. So just a few stories to tell you tonight. So this year's theme, they always have a theme out of the National Department of Labor. And so as we talked about, America's recovery, powered by inclusion. And yes, we have here in Stark County been a part of America's recovery, and our stories tonight will show that. So I have just a little bit of information with Paula Kovac, our Assistant Director from the SSA Department, and she's going to tell you a little bit about community employment in Stark County.
Good evening. I'm a vocational rehabilitation counselor by my education.
So whenever I have a chance to talk about work, it's always passion. You see how important work is when you are celebrating someone's retirement and you've given your whole life to something, and you know the emotion that you feel, and you think about that. You know, it really kind of makes us think about work. You know, so I always kind of have a few things to say. Work, besides making money, is a meaningful life activity. It helps one gain a sense of pride and self-satisfaction. It's an important feature and has great impact in our personal and social identities, our family and social bonds, our daily routines, the way that we make money, the way that we spend money, the way that we access the things that we need and the things that we want. It helps to build confidence, as well as affects our physical and our mental well-being. So, you know, as we come to the end of October and we kind of close out this year's celebration of Disability Employment Awareness Month, we celebrate. We celebrate employment first, the concept that employment should be the first and preferred option for individuals with disabilities, real jobs with real wages. We celebrate our employment ambassadors, Melissa, Sean, Robert, Shayna, Robin, and Adam. We celebrate all the employers who benefit from employing individuals with disabilities. We celebrate all of our vocational habilitation providers who work with individuals on specific employment outcomes. We celebrate all of our group employment providers who provide employment supports to our work crews and the fine-tuning of those skills so that those folks can come closer to reaching their employment goals. We celebrate our job training program, EPIC, a collaboration between Stark DD, CIPRIN, Altman Hospital, and Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. This is a job training program that kind of came into inception in 2019, and since then, you know, with a little bit of time off from the pandemic, we have had 10 participants go through that program, with 6 of those participants being offered jobs by Altman Hospital and 4 accepting. We celebrate Stark DD's working relationship and partnership with OOD, Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. Not every county board across the state of Ohio has the opportunity to have such a collaborative relationship with this agency like we do, and so we celebrate that. And lastly, we celebrate the 268 individuals who have community jobs, and we look forward to seeing that number increase in the future. So we have a lot to celebrate. So, thank you.
Thank you, Paula. That was wonderful. I asked her, I said, we just need to give the board a picture of what employment looks like. I can show you the pictures. I can help take the pictures. But when Paula comes up and talks from the heart like that, she can give you that data, those stats to really get you to the heart of community employment. So thank you, Paula, very much. So we kicked off this month with my friend Matt and Denise Frangos. And we got some time with Pam Cook on WHBC and did a 20-minute interview. And Denise started the interview and was talking a lot about what Paula did on how people with disabilities get jobs, how employers can incorporate different techniques to have more people with disabilities as part of their workforce. And then my friend Matt, he was one of our ambassadors last year, if you may recall, and he got on air and he talked about his job, and Pam was talking to him about his favorite things on the job, what it's like, how he gets to work. And the highlight of that had to be when she said, so Matt, you know, you've worked at Perry Local Schools for, you know, now 15 years, but what's your dream job? And he said, Pam, I want to be a DJ. It was awesome. She said, well, on the spot on the air, she said, I'm gonna give you a call, Matt, and we're gonna get you in the studio. So it was just great. But it was Matt saying, I love my job, I've been there forever, but I do have another dream job. So again, we were so appreciative for Matt and Denise taking their time and kicking off Employment Awareness Month for us. We also ran throughout this month then radio spots talking about National Disability Employment Awareness Month. So now we have our ambassador stories. As I do, I feature a new ambassador each week during October. And so the first person, and she is here with us tonight, is Melissa, and her SSA, Courtney Downey, is going to come up with Melissa and tell you a little bit about her. And hopefully Melissa will say hi.
I'm Melissa's SSA. I've pleasure of working with her since she moved here in 2018. One thing about Melissa and her family is they're very prepared, and Melissa's very reliable. And so, but when they were coming up to move here, the first thing they said was, "What do we need to do to make sure this job transition is easy?" So we started right off the bat, met right away, talking about NMT, getting her transportation, got OOD involved, to make sure everything was as smooth of a transition as possible. So she came here with 17 years of experience in nursing homes. She's been in dietary, housekeeping, and now in laundry. She uses her job coaching services to help her with any hard transitions or, tough meetings or anything like that. And her job coach even helps advocate for her, or helps teach her how to advocate for herself and help keep things a little organized. So she has more experience in the field than most of her peers. And she does a great job, and she always shows up. Just like Lisa said, she's one of those frontline workers that showed up through and through the whole pandemic. So do you want to say something?
Yes, I'm Melissa Meister, and I just want to thank people that nominated me, Courtney. The people that cannot be here tonight are Jackie, Jeff Bear, and I just want to say thank you so much for the nomination. It was my honor to be your ambassador for this year.
Love these. Okay.
Hold on. Try it again.
Here we go. Okay, our second ambassador, and he is also here this evening, is Sean Neubauer. And so if Sean and his SSA, Karen Winans, could come up, and Karen's going to introduce Sean, and hopefully Sean will say hello and tell a little bit about his job. Speak directly into the microphone.
This is Sean, and he's amazing. I've been working with Sean for 9 years, and everything was going on with group employment. Talk about a well-balanced life. Sean was able to work through, and I'll have him tell you. Why don't you tell them the different places that you've worked with group employment?
Sorry. I was working with Kim, different places like Kimball's to cleaning crew, and let's see. Yeah, design mode classics to help when I was start dating to help. I was helping other jobs and everything.
So you did, Sean was able to go to different places as they needed him to fill in. So he knew a whole really good range of different things. So as those skills have been built, one of the things that they were always working on was his confidence. And that obviously to go out and get a community job, that's something that you've got to have that you've really worked on. Part of the thing when you're in group employment though, is it's always these certain hours of the day. There's not a lot of fluctuation to those hours. You get really used to that, kind of dependent on this accurate schedule. And that, that's makes you feel comfortable. So the thing with Sean is he's an amazing bowler. He loves to travel, wanted to make sure there were enough times in his life that he would also be able to do that, but feel comfortable enough working. And he overcame all those obstacles. You travel, you make plans. He has an HPC provider. You guys go do stuff. And on top of that, you're working how many hours a week?
10 hours a week.
10 hours a day,
Yeah.
4 days a week. Or 4 days a week. Okay, and the other thing is Sean always used transportation, the NMT with group employment to get to and from work, and he's driving himself to work now. And the Shears is a little bit out there. So his job coach, Becky, was unable to come tonight, but I hear nothing but good things from Becky. Shears loves Sean, and he also is very much eligible and is probably going to be trying to get some promotions. He's always reliable, and one of the biggest things each place has told me about Sean is about quality assurance. Sean cares about how many pieces he makes in a day, what his crew and what his coworkers are doing. He's there to help people, and you still go and work with people from group employment and Shears when they need some help. So I just can't say enough about over that 9 years, what's happened with Sean has really been great, and you're a joy to work with.
When I started out with Shears, I was there like 4 to 5 years for start to D. Then when I worked, found out with a couple of my friends that worked with through TWI, they started working for Shears, so that bit started building me up to working the Shears, and so I asked around and about it, and I was working there like 1-2. Right now, I'm working there at 1 year and 3 months right now, and when I heard about this, the ambassador, I was surprised and shocked about it. And my parents have. I was. So,
Why don't you tell them too that they put it up at Shears on the.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When I was at Shears, when I left about the leave, they put up on the one with TV, so on the front part. And I was surprised about it. And I told my boss about it, and that's how they did it. I didn't know they were going to do that.
Did a great job.
Yes.
When Sean was nominated, I said, I know Sean. And I actually, when he was at Design Molded Plastics, I don't know if you remember that, Sean, but when we had group employment out there, and I did a big story on that, and went out there, and I went back and I found my picture of Sean working out there in group employment. So as Karen said, he has had a long history of working for many different companies and a very flexible, dependable employee. So next we've got, I call them my Papa Bears guys. And so they couldn't be with us. I believe Robert is working tonight, and honestly, Seth is bowling. It's Special Olympics bowling night. He doesn't want to give up bowling night. So anyways, so these are our two Papa Bears guys. And you can see from their tenure, Seth has been there for 22 years. Robert has been there for 5 years. And they are an absolute part of that company, the fabric of that. Everybody, when you go into Papa Bear's, you know them. If you have ever eaten at Papa Bear's at Belden Village and you haven't seen Seth, it's going to be amazing because he is the greeter. He's out there, and they absolutely embrace and love them as part of their company. So again, can't be here tonight. That's their manager, Lori, in the middle. She was sending me pictures, came to the photo shoot. Absolutely loves those guys. Next, we have Shayna Garrett, and she is at Walmart in Massillon. She also could not be here tonight, but an amazing story. A young woman, she said, and she wrote her own story. So I hope you go on and you can look into her story. She wrote it herself. So proud of that. But she said 5 years ago, she did not have the courage to do very much. Didn't want to live on her own, transportation, not a job, very scared. And she had the support of Stark DD, her SSA, her provider, and has since, she shares living arrangements. She has a roommate, she calls it her sister, and she takes SARTA all over the community to travel. And she is 1 year at Walmart, and she is so proud to tell you that she is the only female cart pusher at Walmart. And she loves it. She's thrilled. So she is so proud of herself, and she says it's only up from here. And that's what employment does. It's really amazing. So I hope you go on and see your story. And finally, we have the story of Robin and Adam at Culver's, the new Culver's. If you haven't been there, yum, yum. But these are two employees talking about dependable. Culver's opened in June, and both of them started at the very beginning when they opened. And I know for a fact that this family, they own Culver's closer up to Cleveland. They have either 2 or 3 other restaurants, and at all of their Culver's restaurants, they employ people with disabilities. So when they opened up down here and were asked by a certain parent if they would hire somebody with a disability, if they could have a job coach, they said, absolutely, come on in today. So, you know, small little story is both of them received the 30-day bonus for staying on the job for 30 days, right along with their coworkers. And then they both also received what's called Culver's Bucks, incentive bucks, because when they were shorthanded and they had to shift and quickly fill in for their coworkers who either didn't show up or were sick, they were given Culver's Bucks for pitching in and helping, just like their coworkers. And the pride that both of them have on their job, and they are talked about so well on the job. So I know it's very appreciated. And again, those frontline workers that are staying there on the job. So finally, just a little reminder where you can find our stories on our website. So again, we run newspaper ads each week. We have them on social media, but they are always archived on our website. So if you go to our stories, we have stories about people, which is all of our ambassadors, stories about our providers, and stories about some of our employees. And if you would look under here, you're not going to believe that we have more than 60 stories that are posted here that we've done over the years, 60. So there's tons of great stories. And again, the reason we tell our stories is because we feel if you get to know us, you get to know the people, you get to know the providers, you get to know our employees, that you are going to know Stark DD. You are going to know our mission and how we are creating opportunities for people for employment in our community. So again, thank you very much. Any questions tonight? Thank you to our ambassadors. Thank you for sharing your story with us tonight.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, ambassadors. That's excellent. We've got one more recognition. That's for Brad Vincent. The others.
So Brad was unable to be here with us tonight. Thanks again for coming, everyone. Yeah, so Brad couldn't be here with us tonight, but we do certainly want to honor him. We're going to honor him with this plaque that is made by us. Randy Rogers, one of our maintenance men, does make this, and this is for 50 years of dedicated service to people with developmental disabilities. He literally started when he was 16 years old, working in the summers at the Apple Creek Developmental Center. He went on to run an agency up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and then he served his last 30 years as the director of CIFRA, certainly one of our partners with Project Search and EPIC, as it's been renamed. But he has been a leader in our community, making sure people's needs are getting met. So we just want to honor and recognize him for this, and we're going to get this into his hands probably next week. So he's been a good and faithful servant for our community. Thank you.
This time, entertain anyone for public speaks. So we'll move on to the president's report. So good evening again. As a reminder for board members, the Relias online training has been assigned to us. We want to have this online training completed by November 30th. If you need any assistance, please contact Con. We're continuing to lay the groundwork for what we hope to be our 2023 levy campaign. And as a reminder, we will be seeking a renewal of 1.9 mil and 1.4 mil levies that are expiring in 2023. With that, we also continue to assess the service delivery system and are providing feedback into proposed Medicare rate increases to ensure that we can stabilize the workforce. Concurrently, we're working to balance those increases with the ever-increasing addition of home and community-based waivers and the support they provide people. So we believe that this delicate balance will be with us for the foreseeable future. This concludes the president's report. Superintendent's report.
I'll be brief. Big week for us on Friday and Saturday. We have the Great Pumpkin Race, which Lisa Paramore chairs. We're actually united with another race that is happening on Sunday. So there's a race expo. It's starting Friday at 2. And it'll run through Saturday, and our race is on Saturday. So has more runners and participants than ever before. And we're so excited for that. And to Lisa's point, it is about knowing us. We want to bring the public in, see images of people we serve, see where that money goes, which the money generated goes to Special Olympics. So very excited for that to happen. On Friday, November 12th, we have State Representative Oslager, who's also the budget chair of the House of Representatives, will be here, along with State Representative Romer and State Representative Stolfus. And we are going to have just a little mini town meeting about the workforce crisis and some of the other statewide priorities the county board system has in place. So you're certainly welcome to join us. It's 11 o'clock. It'll be right here in this room. So going to be very, very hopefully informative and be able to be very much a question and answer format.
Please know, in addition to the celebrating of Disability Employment Awareness Month, we continue to be just laser focused on the work of the board. And the work of the board is made up of so many things, but it all relates to people and families. Just in September, if we kind of maybe cherry pick some things from our outcome measures report, we served 319 families in an early intervention, 78 preschool students, 98 students at our school age program. Nearly 2,900 people are receiving supports in our service and support administration area. And a part of that, we had nearly 125 individual service planning meetings. And we need to average about 150 a month. We enrolled 4 people on home and community-based service waivers. We investigated 94 major unusual incidents. We performed 8 RNQAs, 4 provider compliance reviews. We trained 32 provider staff in CPR, med admin, or MANT training in September, and we coordinated 190 background checks for our provider community, which is just illustrates the need out there in trying to recruit and retain people. And this is a service that we certainly can provide that offsets some of their costs. So that is our superintendent's report. Questions? There's no questions. I'll go ahead and conclude and just wish you guys a great day and a good week.
Thank you. Our committee and department reports are in our board packets. Are there any additions or deletions that need to be made at this time? We do not have any old business, but we do have new business with our annual review of the 2022 table of organization. Connie.
So the 2022 table of organization is in your board packet. It runs pages 16 through 38. And as our policy states, we do review this each year. It's reviewed by the superintendent, and we make any recommendations to the board that are pertinent. The table does identify each approved position within the organization, and each position is assigned a specific position ID number. So this year we do have a recommendation that we'd like to make, and that is that we'd like to revise our position control numbers for all approved positions. About 10 years ago, the numbers were created, and there's been some small tweaks along the way that we would like to standardize. And in revising these numbers, we feel we can be more succinct and align the numbers or the letters closer to the jobs. For example, we have some specialized jobs within our SSA department, so we feel that we can do a better job of identifying those jobs in revised numbers and letters. So we would respectfully ask that this recommendation for the next table of organization that you would see at this time next year be accepted. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Connie. Now we have a presentation. Ed Lewis, Manager of Provider Compliance and Support, will present the feedback of our provider community as well as review the actions we are taking to support them.
Good evening. As Bill had already somewhat highlighted, there's some of the efforts that we have made to support the workforce shortage that we're all well aware of. It's everywhere in the news these days. And now hiring signs that we see on every business that's out there. We started to meet with our providers, particularly our Gold Star providers, who are a great resource to the county board, and try to understand more of what is going on in our particular community And from that meeting, they requested that we do a survey that we could use to educate multiple members within our stakeholder groups. So far, we've educated SSAs, we've educated the parent group known as Sharing Solutions, we've educated other providers. And tonight, we're going to go ahead and also share this information with you. As I get ready to share this information, one thing I want to keep in mind that is many of these employees are not ours, and that puts us in the awkward or weird position of how do we assist, because they are employed by private providers. But we want to support these providers because obviously strong providers with strong employees means strong service for the people that we all support. So we did conduct a survey, and we had about 35 recipients, which is actually a pretty good turnout. So out of those, you can see that we had a well-rounded group of people. We had a good grouping of 1 to 10 employed by the agency. Then we see another good grouping at that 31 to 50, and then another good grouping at that 100 plus. So this data is representative of all sizes of providers, not just one particular subgroup. The first question we asked is, how many people do you hire each month? And what we're finding is that about 67% of those providers out there are hiring 1 to 5 new employees each month to work with the people that we all serve. Then we see another good grouping, about 30%, hiring 6 to 10. So the message we're putting out there to the board, to the families, to the SSAs, is that we are all trying our best to deliver the best service we can. But we do have to be mindful. Sometimes that employee that you meet, that you're talking to about services, may have just been hired last week. They are learning and they are doing their best. And we just want to be cognizant and supportive. So if someone doesn't know, then share with them. Don't be insulted, don't be rude. Share with them what you know and what can help them deliver better service. The next slide is how many people leave your agency each month. Now, we do see that 85% of our providers are seeing 1 to 5 employees leave every month. So they are losing. They're hiring faster than they're losing, which at first was alarming, but I talked to a couple of providers, thought about it a little bit, and what we're seeing is they're still trying to catch up from low employee numbers prior to the crisis that we're now in. So they are already shorthanded, and then the crisis occurred. And so they're still trying to play catch up. And your current rate of retention and recruitment, how long before your agency is no longer sustainable? The good news is that 55% of our providers said they are not concerned about long-term sustainability based off of personnel only. The quiet news that's not great is that means 45% of our providers believe they have less than 18 months that they could continue to operate with their current retention and recruitment. It's my opinion, and I'm no statistician or expert, but I would expect that if those 45% failed, those 55% would have major problems. So this is why it becomes of the utmost importance that we continue to strive to support these providers in any way that we can, help sure that they're able to keep their head above water and continue to provide the service that is necessary. We asked them, what is the largest obstacle in recruiting and retaining talent? Well, on the recruiting side, they pretty much overwhelmingly said it's pay rate. And now we cannot control much of that. That is determined by the Medicaid reimbursement rate. And we are limited in what we can do. I will say that providers want to thank this board. They want to thank Mr. Green. They want to thank other superintendents out there who have been advocating with state legislators, federal legislators on increasing that rate so that we can afford to be able to pay the employees more. In the retaining, we do see pay rate is obviously still a major component, but job duties increases quite a bit. And what that tells us is that once someone is in the job and they're actually performing the function of a direct support professional, the duties themselves become discouraging. So we met with the SSA leadership team, we met with SSAs, and we asked them, what can we do in our ISPs that can help make the DSP's job a little bit easier to bear? What are the expectations that we are putting out there that are overwhelming people? Are we able to look at the ISP and look at the service and say, this is an absolute must. This is something that we really want to achieve. And then these are things that as staffing allows, as experience allows, we can go ahead and come. Paintboard, which on the next slide, I can tell you what that is, because I can't remember, and I have it on the next slide. So we'll get there in a second. But Anchor did a survey in 2021. They had 449 respondent agencies. All these agencies do the same kind of work that are related to the survey that we did locally. 58% of the providers stated they are discontinuing programs, just not offering certain programming functions that they once did. 77% are turning away new referrals, 84% are delaying new offerings, and 81% are struggling to achieve quality standards. And this is a nationwide survey. So it's not just a Stark County problem, it's not just an Ohio problem, it's happening across the country. I am happy to say that because of our excellent provider network that we have here in Stark County, we do not have as many providers that are just discontinuing or abandoning homes. We hear horror stories of other places in the state where homes are just shutting down. We're not quite there yet, but we're edging in that direction. Anchor, also known as the American Network of Community Options and Resources, their CEO, Barbara Merrill, she is quoted as saying, "This is the first time since the deinstitutionalization movement that we are actually going backwards." And what she means by that is, we've been striving for all this community engagement and community integration, but when you have low staff, that becomes very difficult to do. So now you see providers who are very passionate and very on board with our mission, but they're saying, look, we need to have larger groups because I can only get so many staff. And so that is what they're concerned about. She also states services aren't being staffed at the levels that they need to be staffed in order to be safe to allow people to experience the community. We're concerned about basic human safety here. That's why providers are moving to close and consolidate programs. They're not going to run programs where people aren't safe. So in the focus group that we held with our Gold Star providers, one of the providers, a very large one that operates in probably about 7 or 8 counties in Northeast Ohio, looked at us and said, "Ed, I just struggle every day to make sure that that person is fed, clean, and safe." So these other things that we want to achieve, they are struggling. And when you ask why, it's, "Ed, I just don't have the staff. I just can't do it. I want to, I just can't." So that is the state that many of our providers are in. So what do we do about it? We accept it. We have this information. What can we do? Well, the SSAs and county board staff, we are reviewing ISPs for ways to safely decrease current supervision levels. So if there is a person, say in a home that's getting 2 for staffing, 4 people live in the home, 2 staff, is that absolutely necessary, or is that just something we've gotten accustomed to? Can it safely be manned at 1 to 4? And if so, A, that is increased independence for the people that live in that home. So yes, that's a celebration of what we want to see. And B, it does save on staffing. We prioritize our needs. We make sure that we have crucial outcomes in the ISPs simplified and easy to accomplish. We are really honing in on our tech and remote monitoring services. Thank you to Jessica Hofarth and other leadership members of SSA that have really taken the bull by the horns and pushed for more technology in our community with our providers and the people that we serve. Have a plan B when requests come in a 1-to-1 support living arrangements and there are no providers. I'm happy to say that right now, Stark County Board of DD does have a plan B. Our last resort is we do have staff members that are with Stark County Board of DD who have volunteered to go into a home at a moment's notice if need be. And that way we can assure that there is safety and health that is taken care of. So no matter what, we at least get that met. Schedule frequent well-being check-ins for people served, DSPs and frontline supervisors. I'll tell you, I kind of love this part because I get to leave the office and go see some of the people that are out there working and talk to them. And it's just a great way to relieve some stress for me, but also get to meet some nice people. Consider all options as we serve and volunteer back, and then check in on the mental health needs of individuals and families served and connect to local mental health agencies. Provider support staff, that's more along the lines of my team. What we've done is we've met 1-to-1 with agency providers to determine level of risk. Right now, I meet with 2 agency providers every week to see what they need, what we can do for them, how we can assist them. Develop a triage plan, which I already described as our own staff can go in, but we've also created an independent provider collaborative. And what these independent providers have done is they have volunteered to go into homes as needed. So we are able to reach out to them, tell them the need, and they will tell us if they are available. If so, they will contract with an agency provider so they can be paid for the services they render, but they also offer relief. Developing ongoing provider support plan to help with meals, cleaning, lawn care, groceries, transportation, and whatnot. We do assist with that as well, and I'll go over a little bit of that in my next slide. Establish ongoing DSP appreciation plan. We've actually been doing that for a couple of years, so we were able to check that box off pretty quickly. And then contact providers regularly to assess their current staffing needs. So this is some efforts that we have made, limited to 10, just so I don't want to keep going on because we have done quite a bit. The first thing we've done is we've been strong advocates for the competency and longevity add-on grants, and thank you to this board for allowing us to be able to do that. What that is we pay once a DSP completes the 60 hours of training that is required for this particular program, we are able to give the agency that they work for a grant to assist for paying for the hours of that training. Because normally that employee would not be able to be paid for that training. And that's 60 hours. That's quite a bit of time and effort. And we've seen a lot of success. I don't know, we probably have 3 or 4 a week that are coming in right now that we are helping improve. And then on top of that, once they complete that training, that DSP gets the extra $1 an hour paid to them for the work that they provide. We have the Boost Employee Network and EAP offerings. What Boost is it's 8 providers that are signed on with the Success Coach. The Success Coach works directly with the DSPs to make sure that they have their basic needs met. Sometimes they need assistance with their electric bill or their heating bill in the wintertime. Maybe they have car problems. Maybe they have childcare problems. Maybe they have a close family member that is having addiction issues and they need connected to services. This Success Coach is able to meet with them discreetly and assist with that. Because we all know that the life problems that you have at home do not get left at the door. They carry on into the workplace. So we want to take a little bit of that struggle away from them. Now, the other providers that do not participate in the Boost Employee Network, they do get to participate in the EAP, our Employee Assistance Program, the exact same one that we have here at the county board. Thanks to Connie Poland and some of her efforts and connections she's made, we've been able to get a great program. We started a new one this month, and we are able to extend it all out to the provider network as well. We do the background checks, as Bill had already cited. We provide the Relies, CPR, first aid, medication delegation, and MAN. All of those will be free starting in January. Again, deferring costs from our providers so they can put that money right back into their employees. Our All-Star DSP monthly recognitions and annual luncheon. This is an absolute joy. It's probably one of the favorite parts of my job. You literally see these employees start to tear up. You're looking at employees that are making $11 to $12 an hour, and they've probably never had anyone come up and say, "You're doing a great job." And thankfully, I have some great staff that have said, "Hey, Ed, the tumbler you're giving is nice, but you need to dress it up a little bit." So they put a nice bow on it, make a nice little thank you card, and things like that. And it's really been received well. And then every year we have a luncheon at the La Pizzeria, where we recognize them again and name a DSP of the year. Distribution of meals to DSPs is COVID relief and appreciation of services. We did this with, I think it was mainly pizza, but we did use some restaurants, deliver them to the homes. Formed an independent provider collaborative to assist in gaps of service. This has been amazing to see these independent providers to come together and start sharing ideas and willing to jump in and help wherever we can. We have gathered initial applicant interest and referred to provider agencies for DSP hires. I did not know how else to word this, so I'll just explain it to you. So essentially what we did is we did a campaign during COVID where we put out there, hey, come be a DSP. We used our website as the landing spot where someone could just express initial interest. And then once that initial interest was expressed, we passed it on to provider agencies who then reached out and completed the application and interview process. We have COVID grants and relief funds. During the time of COVID, when there was a lot of billings that were coming down, providers were struggling to keep their income up, they were able to submit to us appropriate amounts that were related to their operations that we were able then to reimburse them so that they could keep their head above water. And then we've also completed quite a bit of PPE distribution and COVID rapid test distribution so they can stay safe in this COVID environment. And that's just a few of the things that we've done. If you talk to SSAs, they've gone out, they volunteered their time delivering groceries, delivering meals. If you talk to anyone that's been part of this board, they have went over and beyond and just trying to assist those providers, because we all understand that they're having a workforce crisis. If it continues to get worse, then it just impacts the people we serve, and we need to work to improving that situation. If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. That presentation was very important topic. At this time, we'll have review of policies that are slated for first reading.
Policy 3.03, lockout tagout program was reviewed with no changes. Policy 4.56, table of organization, was reviewed with no changes. Policy 5.10, preschool program discipline, did have a small revision to include the addition of several references to the Ohio Revised Code and to the Ohio Administrative Code. Policy 5.15, suspensions, emergency removals for adults with DD, had a small revision to clarify that corrective action can occur, which may result in suspension or emergency removals on a very limited basis and only for health and safety reasons. Policy 5.16, administration of medication, was reviewed with no changes. Policy 5.23, employment first, was also reviewed with no changes. And finally, policy 5.28, food services staff illness reporting, was reviewed with no changes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It brings us to the resolution, starting with resolution 103521, approves the board expenditures for September 2021. I need a motion.
Piggy moves.
Second.
Alba Lang seconds.
Thank you. Discussion from the.
Good evening, everyone. So for the month of September, we did receive our second real estate distribution. So we had total local revenues of 15.13 million, total state revenues of 292,000, and total federal of 285,000, giving us total revenue of 15.7 million for the month. We did have 3 payrolls during September, totaling 1.8 million, total benefits of 766,000, and total other of 539,000, giving us total expenses of 3.1 million. Our revenues for the month exceeded our expenses by 12.58 million. We look down at the bottom, we began the year with 52.5 million. We currently had 8.3 million in 2020 POs open at the end of September. We have canceled 886,000 of 2020 purchase orders. And with our positive year-to-date net change in financial position of 14.5 million, we have 59.6 million in unencumbered cash, minus our 10 million in the reserve, giving us 49.6 million. Looking at our budget versus actual, just looking at the year-to-date, 52.27 million in total revenues, which is over 100% of what we've expected to receive. Total expenses of 37.68 million, which is 71.26%. Our target is 75%. Looking over on the far right, our total available budget of 6.89 million, mainly consisting of personnel expenses. Looking at our 2020 prior year carryover of encumbrances of 1.14 million, we have paid 255,000 and canceled 887,000. We have $0 remaining in 2020 POs at the end of September. So now looking at resolution 103521, you can see the 3 payrolls there. Nothing to really note out of those payrolls. And then a week by week breakdown of the non-payroll of 1.3 million. If there's no questions, requesting approval of resolution 1035-21.
No questions? All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? With none, financials for September are approved. I have resolution 1036-21 approves the purchase of liability and fleet insurance. I need a motion.
Alba Lang moves.
Second,
Anderson seconds.
thank you. Discussion.
Thank you. So resolution 1036-21 is requesting approval to acquire liability and fleet insurance at a cost not to exceed $201,946.92. Again, going through October 1st of 21 through September 30th of next year. We've secured it again with Philadelphia, just as we have for the past few years through the Shower Group Incorporated. All of the limits, as you can see, are the limits that we have maintained over the past few years since I've been here. The general liability, that $10 million umbrella policy. One thing that I will note, just based on the market, we did see an increase in the cyber coverage, which was a 22.5% increase in the premium that we saw from last year. Total premium last year was about $13,000. Now we're paying about $60,000. So that's the only thing to note, but we just, given the current market, other similar agencies are experiencing the same thing, so cost of doing business. If nobody has any questions, requesting approval of resolution 1036-21.
With no questions, all in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? With none, resolution 1036-21 is approved. We have resolution 1037-21 approves the 2022 policy. I need a motion. It's the policy manual screen.
Anderson motion.
Second,
Smith second.
any discussion from the comment?
Yes, resolution 1037-21 is to seek approval for the board's policy manual, which has been placed on the agency intranet since 2013. And in your packet, you can see pages 82 through 91, the various indexes of the 6 chapters that include governance, agency administration, safety and facilities, human resources, program services, and information technology. There are no questions. We would request approval.
With no questions, all in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? With none, resolution 1036-21 is approved. Wait. Resolution 1037-21 is approved. Sorry about that. Okay, moving on to the second reading of board policies that were presented the September meeting. We presented the count.
Policy 2.02, individual service planning process, was reviewed with no changes. Policy 2.03, functional departments, was revised to remove health and therapy services and add early intervention and nursing services. Policy 2.09, corporate compliance program, was reviewed with no changes. Policy 2.14, abuse awareness and prevention, was revised to include language that addresses what are appropriate and inappropriate interactions between employees and children, youth, and adults. Policy 2.23, research and experimental programs, was reviewed with no changes. Policy 5.19, non-routine use of school buses, was also reviewed with no changes. Policy 5.20, Ohio Pupil Transportation Operation and Safety Rules, was revised to remove a portion of a sentence that was repetitive. And finally, policy 6.03, IT confidentiality policy, was reviewed with no changes. Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the resolution 1038-21 provides approval for the board policies presented for second reading. Any motion?
Alba Lang moves.
In a second.
Smith second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Those say nay. Any abstentions? If none, the board policies are approved. Okay, reminder, there is no board meeting scheduled for November. So as a reminder for board members, our board training should be completed by November 3rd. And then our next board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December 14th. Till then, please stay happy and healthy and enjoy your Thanksgiving holiday. And I now need a motion to adjourn.
Vicky moves.
Second,
Yeah.
Like seconds.
thank you. All in favor, say aye. Say nay. No abstentions. We are adjourned at 7:11.